Welcome back to Comfort Breeds Complacency. This is episode 18. Today I'm going to be doing a full recap of my 2025 Moab 240 ultramarathon experience. I'm not joined with anybody today. It's just going to be a solo podcast, but I'm kind of just going to go over everything that happened and what I thought of the race and my experience there. So, yeah. This was my second time attempting this race. So last year, I was actually sitting right in this spot when I did my recap of last year's. At about mile 100, I had to get timed out because there's certain aid stations that you go through and you have to be at them by a certain time of the day or whatever. And I hurt my knee earlier in the race, and I kind of limped and hobbled my way until I got to Bridger Jack, which was mile 100. So that's where I timed out last year, but not this year, baby, not this year. We ended up getting it done, so I'm just going to kind of run through everything that happened. Lots of people also asked me what my glasses were when I was out there. They're Papi's sunglasses. My friend Logan started the company, so if you want a pair of flip-up Papi's, it is on the website. I'll link it below, and if you use code GOATVISION, you get some moolah off. So thank you, Logan, for hooking me up with a bunch of pair of these, and some for my pacer Ryan as well on the race. So to start off, I guess I've been thinking of doing this race since probably, it was before COVID, like 2020, right around there is when I kind of first heard about it. It was like David Goggins went on Joe Rogan. He was talking about doing the Moab 240, and Courtney Dauwalter was on there, so she was talking about it as well. Courtney won the race. David got second in the year he did it. But just hearing about like how you'd run for days and days straight, it was over 200 miles. It was like in the desert, just super raw race. It sounded like just the toughest people in the world would do this thing. I just thought, man, I got to do that race someday. So I actually signed up for, the only way you can guarantee your spots is if you sign up for the Triple Crown, which is the 3 races Destination Trail has. They actually have 4 now, but at the time they only had 3, which was Tahoe 200 in around Lake Tahoe, the Bigfoot 200 in Washington State, and then a Moab 240 in Utah. So I signed up for all 3 of those actually. And then COVID happened, so we didn't do them that year. Then I got injured one of the years. I was, I think I broke my foot. It was after my, Mexico trip when I cycled across Mexico and I came back into Canada, and I got run off the road while cycling and had a Liz Frank fracture. So I had to defer it a year there, and then I was doing my swim in Okanagan Lake. That was the year I got done, was 2023. So deferred it a year again. And then last year was the first year. You can only defer it 2 years. So last year was the year that was like go time. And early in the season, I just was not ready for Tahoe or Bigfoot. So unfortunately, I just had to give those ones up. But I knew I wanted to. Moab, that was one I always wanted to do. So yeah, I got down there and had my videographer Kyle with me. It was like my only crew I had last year, and I did my best I could on what I had, but obviously just wasn't prepared for everything that happened as far as my knee getting hurt. I just didn't see that happening and got hurt around 50 miles in, and then again I kind of spent hours and hours trying to get it going at one of the aid stations, and then hobbled my way for the next 3 aid stations till mile 97, right around mile 100, and then I had to call it there. So unfortunately, yeah, last year was not my year, but as soon as I was able to register again for it this year, I made sure that I was in the lottery. It's a lottery, so I applied, and I found out early in 2025 that I got in again. So it was the redemption tour this year. I got a bigger crew. I had myself, the runner. I had my friend Ryan, was a pacer. I had Kyle back again on the camera, videographer, and he brought his buddy Joe down just for like helping out, extra filming, things like that. And then I was supposed to have a couple other crew members. Damon, he ended up having some work things, so he ended up coming at the very end, but he wasn't there for the actual race. And then I had another pacer, Gabe, who was supposed to be helping me out, but he's a wild bastard, a speed flyer, and he ended up like dislocating both his ankles and fracturing his back like 2 weeks before the race. So he's doing all right. He got surgery. He's up and moving around and still old Gabe, but unfortunately we lost Gabe as part of the crew. So next time Gabe will be out there for sure. But happy he's all good. But yeah. So I was planning to take my school bus down from Calgary, Alberta here, drive it down to Utah and Moab's about 16 hours. I did that last year. I had my bus down there. And this year I got everything like sorted on it, got it all fixed up, ready to go. And then like the day before I was leaving, it was all packed, ready to go. The brakes went out. And so then I was kind of scrambling a little bit. I had to book a flight, like take all the gear out of the bus I was going to use, put it in one big duffel bag. And then I had to go and rent an RV down in Salt Lake City and use that as our crew vehicle. But I had like Starlink this year, so my crew could use internet when they were out in the middle of nowhere, so they could figure out where I was, and timing worked better and everything. So I had all this electronics I had to bring down, and like I bought all the food and packed all my drop bags already and all the drinks and everything. So it was kind of a hassle, just not an unforeseen thing to overcome. But yeah, I got a flight, flew down there, and Kyle and Joe, they were flying down a couple days after I got there, and Ryan was an insane person. He drove 36 hours straight from Pennsylvania to Moab like an absolute maniac, just nonstop except for gas and stuff. So that's basically an ultra on its own, which is almost more impressive than the run, I think. But so that was our crew. I got down there probably the 7th, I think. I stayed at my cousin Gary's house in Salt Lake City for a day, kind of just did a shakeout run, got a couple of the things I needed, and then I picked up the RV on the 8th. And I picked up Kyle and Joe from the airport, and then we drove down to Moab that day. Ryan met us that evening. That night we went to Pasta J's. It was a place in Moab that I've been just craving for like a year since I've been there last year. They have gluten-free pasta and all sorts of things. I have this like gluten-free, it's like a naan bread, which I can like never have, but it's gluten-free there, and I just like, oh, it was so good. But you almost had to take out a loan to pay for it, especially come from Canada, the old money conversion there. But anyways, that was our first night. Gone to Moab, checked into a hotel. The next day we went to runner check-in, where you get like your bib, you have to do a medical check, you have all your drop bags. So there's like 16 aid stations all the way throughout. Some of them you can have crew at, which means Kyle and the boys could like drive the RV and park there and if like give me assistance when I came in. Some no crew is allowed, but you could have drop bags. So you pack a pre-made bag beforehand and you drop it off at each one of these sections, and then they bring it to those aid stations. So when you come in, you just give them your bib number and then they give you your bag. And then some have none of that. Some just are out in the middle of nowhere and you basically get what they offer you. So their whatever fruit or their food or their gels, their water. So there's a big mix of them, but I think there were about 12 aid stations that you could have drop bags. So I that morning I had all the things laid out, and you lay them out on the floor and you put in your gels and your water, extra Gatorade and your Red Bulls and your extra socks if you want socks. And you kind of have to think ahead to be like, oh, where will I be at what time in the race, and what will I need at that time? Just things like that. So it's kind of like iffy because you never know when you're going to be there, what the weather will be like. This Moab was way different than last year. Last year was super hot. Lots of people got taken out because of dehydration. One girl had a seizure because of dehydration. Like people were just dropping like flies because of the heat. And this year it was the opposite. It was going to be windy and cold and rainy. So you basically just had to think ahead and kind of figure out what you needed to do as far as that. So I filled all of my drop bags that morning, and then in the afternoon we dropped them off. Did my medical check. You have to have mandatory gear you carry in your running vest, so they check all that. They check that you have GPS on your watch or your phone for the course route, and then they do a photo, like a pre-photo. So they take a photo of what you look like before the race, and then basically we just took some photos at like the start line and photos of us as a crew, and then we hung out for a little bit. Then there was this runners meeting, and there was probably, I don't know how many runners there were, anywhere from like 200 to 300, I think, somewhere in there. So like all the runners and their crew were listening to this talk. Couldn't really hear them that well, so we were kind of hanging out the back. But right as we were walking up to there, I looked over, and David Goggins was in this year's race. So I got to see Goggins there and gave him a fist bump as we were walking into the meeting there. But man, I've never been around somebody who like draws eyes like that in like a crowd. Like usually if you see a celebrity or whatever famous person, it's usually at an event, let's say a basketball game or football game. Like you don't really have access to them; they're further away, But being right here is like Goggins is just another competitor, right? He's just like everybody else as far as the race goes, but obviously the rules and things are just a bit different with him, because when he walked in, everybody rubbernecks and looks at him and wants photos, and I'm guilty of that too, like I've always been a big fan of David Goggins. Like he's been an inspiration for me reading his books and things like that, but at the end of the day, I respect him as a competitor, and I also will take what I can from him, but I see myself as somebody who's able to do what he does. Maybe not even at the same level as him yet, but I'm going to get there eventually. And in some aspects, I think I can do things a bit different, like with the ultra swimming, and that's what I pride myself on, is being having variety in what I do and being a very versatile ultra athlete. So I got to see Goggins, though, and that was pretty cool. Talked to him for a minute there, and then, the runner meeting was over, and we went back home. And after that, it's basically just getting ready. Like, the race starts at noon on Friday, so this was now Thursday, so probably like 5 p.m. we finished that runners meeting. So then you go home, you basically just have some food and like try and put your feet up and like do the last things. It always seems with these ultras though that you always have all these tasks and things to do, but it's really when you should be resting, but you have these last minute things, packing your bag, making sure your water fits and nothing's rubbing, and you have all your mandatory gear and like your navigation set. So I ended up being up pretty late that night, like 12 a.m. Put out an Instagram post, like just stuff like that. So I'm always really nervous the night before these races too. It doesn't matter how many times you've done big things like this, or the confidence you have, you're still going to be nervous. It's just how it is. So yeah, I was pretty nervous that night, but had some rice and beef for dinner in the RV, cooked up with Ryan. He was slapping around some dirty old raw chicken. He didn't even cook the stuff. It was half raw when he was eating it, so that was delightful to watch. But we went to bed that night and woke up probably, I tried to sleep in a little bit, so like 10 a.m. I woke up because I wanted to get as much sleep as I could. What's nice about this is most ultras or things start really early in the morning, like 5 a.m., but this one starts at noon, because there's a section on this run where it's like over 40-kilometer stretch, like over 20 miles, where you don't have any access to water. And when they used to start it early in the morning, people would be going through this stretch at the like middle of the day, and they were just like dying from the heat and everything. So we start at noon. So basically I had like an avocado and a banana that morning, tried to keep things pretty light. I think I also had a Hornby bar, and then we just kind of make our way from the hotel to the start line, and everybody's kind of mingling around. They put a spot tracker on you so that people online can follow you around wherever you are on the race. And then, yeah, basically just hung out. It was with, or the day before, actually, we did a shakeout run with like Eli Wiebe and Andy Glaze. They kind of hosted it. There was a bunch of us there. So it was good to see those boys again. I ran into them last year when I was running and met them. I did like Jacob's Ladder in that section with Andy, and Eli was sick last year, so Andy and I were ahead of him. And then when I hurt my knee, I saw Eli run by me at that aid station. So it was cool to see those boys again. And like I've been following them online for a while, and again this past year up until now, and talking with them. So yeah, it was pretty sweet to run into them and have a shakeout run with them and probably like 20 other people. Some were run the race, some were pacers, but it was pouring rain, just pissing. We were just all soggy like dogs, and that was just what was foreshadowing to come, I guess. And now back on race day, we're getting to the starting line, called my girlfriend Tasia, and just kind of said goodbye for however many days I'd be running. I didn't know what my service would be like, and texted my parents, things like that. So, and then you kind of line up into the starting corral about a half an hour earlier, and they have some pre-race announcement type things, and they do like the national anthem, and they do the pledge, which is like, if I get lost, hurt, or die, it's my own damn fault. Yeah, and then we took some photos at the start with I was next to Andy and Eli right up front, and some of the other guys like Killian and those guys. So yeah, and then basically it's just you're about a minute out, and you're in the corral, and the clock starts counting down, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, and then you start, and it's almost a surreal feeling. It feels like a normal race if you ran a shorter race, like like a race that would be done in a few hours. Like everybody kind of starts out of the gates a little bit hot, and like, but it is kind of surreal thinking about like how long you're gonna be out there, and you'll be finishing right back at that same spot. Who knows how many days later? Like at least a few days later. So if you finish it all, so yeah, it's really more like than a race. It's like an adventure you're going on. It's all very personalized. Of course, you're in a race and you want to compete and do the best you can, but you really are competing against yourself. My goal this year wasn't a set time. It was to finish. So, I started out, and I started out well. I like that road running at the start. Kind of just gets my legs under me. The first however many miles is just it's going through town there, basically. So I was in like third place. I made a video saying like, oh, I'm in third place. Enjoy it while it lasts, because this is the best I'll be all race. And I was behind like Eli and one other guy, and then by the time we went like 3 or 4 miles, you get to the trailhead, and that's where the trail starts, and you go up. And at that point, I let like the race kind of leader guys who were expected to win the race, guys like Killian, those kind of guys, I let them go ahead, but we were all in kind of like a snake kind of Congo line going through this single track. So there's probably about 10 of us in that front pack for the first 8 miles or so. So we were following along there. I was running right behind Eli, and it was very humid though. It wasn't raining yet. It was kind of overcast, but very humid, and like sprinkling here or there. But all of our clothes were just soaked from sweat right off the bat. So that first section you go into, it was called Hidden Valley. So that's about, what was it? It was 8.29 miles in to the race. So you kind of just getting your footing. It's just single track going through, just kind of feeling everything out. I think we got there in like an hour, and just under an hour and a half. And at that first aid station, you kind of just go through, like, you fill up a ball of water. I think I had one piece of watermelon, but I was in and out within 1 minute. So it's just kind of like a quick replenish stop. And then you make your way towards the next aid station. So that one didn't have drop bags, or it didn't have crew. It was basically just your first aid station. They give you a little bit of water, stuff like that. Then you make your way to a Massivac, it's called. It's the first crewed aid station. It was another eight and a bit miles away. So it was at mile 16 and a half. So yeah, another 8.5 miles away. So right away you climb up this like super steep kind of chute almost. It's like you climb on these rocks and you're making your way up. And then you go into this kind of flat section for a little while that gradually inclines, just like single track on like dirt. And then it opens up to this like Mars-like scene, some you'd see in, I don't know, like Mars or Interstellar, just some crazy Utah backcountry where it's like slick rock, and then it goes into these massive red cliffs and the red rock and everything. So you kind of make your way down these faces and then up, and it's a pretty cool section, although it's kind of hard on your feet because when you run on this downhill on this slick rock, your feet slide into the front of your shoes. So your toes are always banging on the front of your shoes, which is uncomfortable. But anyways, you kind of follow. They have a spray painted line on the rock every now and again to kind of mark your path, but you're following it on your watch, or I do anyways, the navigation. So I was doing pretty well there. I was probably in like top 10 to 15-ish in that time. I was ahead of Eli because I went through that aid station a bit quicker than he did, and then he ended up coming up behind me, and we just ran together for this section. So once you kind of get up this slick rock, then you go down back into this road. So we were running down this slick rock, and it just had started raining, and we were starting to feel how like slippery it was, but we were just getting through this section together without really getting too much of the rain, which was nice. It was sweet running with Eli. I mean, like, he's done this race a number of times, so he's giving me tips on what's to come, and we were just kind of bullshitting back and forth about my off year and cycling Africa and how his year was, and I don't know, just having good talks. It was he's a sweet dude to run with, so we were running together, and then we made it to this road, and you basically run for like a couple miles. I think it's like 3 kilometers along this just asphalt road until you get to a Massaback. And I remember last year, I actually passed Eli on this road last year. That's when he was really struggling with the heat, going into a Massaback. So it was cool to kind of be in the same time as him again this year, but we were earlier than we were last year. It was starting to rain at this point, so it was kind of easier to run in that cooler weather. But yeah, we got into that second aid station, and he went to his crew vehicle. I kind of just went to the tent, but my crew was all there. I got some extra water, kind of filled up on some things like watermelon, just stuff like that, just kind of replenish our things. And then this year there's actually a change a couple weeks out from the race with crude aid stations and stuff. So last year I would have seen Kyle and my crew at mile around, what would it have been? It was mile 67. But this year that wasn't a crude aid station. It was just a normal one. So the next time I would see my crew wasn't until mile 126. Because there was also, it's called Shea Mountain and Monticello Lake. They're back-to-back aid stations. And last year, again, they were both crude aid stations. But this year, because of environmental impact, half of the runners had their crew at Shea Mountain, and then half of them had it at Monticello Lake, and it was just a random draw. And of course, I got the Monticello Lake, so it's even further to go without crew. So I was here at mile 16 at a Massaback, and the next time I was going to get to see my crew and have crew help was mile 126, so like 110 miles later, which is pretty insane to think about. Like, hey, when I'm leaving this aid station, hey guys, like, see you in, who knows, like a day or so, more than a day. So that was pretty insane. But we stayed pretty quick at that aid station, just 10 minutes, Eli and I, and we were going to leave together. So we set a timer, spent 10 minutes. I put my gaiters on then because I didn't have them on until that point. And then we made our way out, and as I was getting up to leave, that's when David Goggins came into the aid station. I was like, oh boy, there he is. There's Goggins. And that was pretty cool. He was pretty quick at him. I think he left just a couple minutes after Eli and I. So I think my crew was saying he was leaving, and his wife, I think her name's Jessica, she had yelled like, David, you forgot your sock. And he just goes, I don't need it. And he just like headed out of the aid station. That was pretty funny. But the next section you go to is a bit longer section. The next aid station would be at mile 29. So it's about a 13-mile stretch. And that one's called base camp. So the section we kind of leave and you go across this little river, and then you kind of make your way up along this cliff kind of edge, and it overlooks this huge like river and this huge valley area. So Eli and I were just kind of crushing that together again. It was kind of raining at this point, and again, we're just soaking wet from the humidity and everything. So just kind of make our way through that area, picking our way through these rocks up and down, kind of undulating. And that's kind of where Eli got really sick last year. That's where he had to lay down for a couple hours and like he was puking. So I remember that's kind of where I met Andy and picked up with Andy last year. So I remember what time I was at that spot at, and we were way ahead of it this year, at least like half an hour or so ahead of it, which is pretty cool that early in the race. So yeah, we were making our way up there, but then you'd look over your shoulder, and there Goggins was like half a kilometer back or a few hundred meters back, and he's making his way behind you too. So it was almost just like that, I don't know, feeling like a grizzly's kind of tracking you down or something. And it's imminent that he's coming for you, because he was moving a little bit quicker than I was at that point, I think. So yeah, but we just basically were making our way there. You run along this kind of rock area along the top, and then you get to a spot that's called Jacob's Ladder. And it's this big kind of rock, I don't even know, like a chute again almost, but it's just like rocks splayed everywhere, and you kind of have to walk your way down it and zigzag your way down it. And you drop like a couple 100 feet in elevation, or a couple 100 meters right away. You go from that top of these cliffs all the way down to the bottom. Every time I'm there, I always look over the edge and say, oh man, it would be a sick base jump. Like, that'd be the quickest way down. Just bring your rig and send it. But as I was entering there, I got a photo flexing, and then right behind me was Goggins. I saw he got a photo flexing, and then we kind of just picked our way down this thing. He was right behind me basically as we were going down, which was pretty cool. And then I get to the bottom, and I'm running along, and I slowed down like just slightly, just the littlest bit, while he was kind of picking his way down those rocks, because I thought it'd be like a cool just life experience to run with Goggins for a little bit. Maybe we could run beside each other, or I don't know, just talk to him, just bullshit with him, and as a fellow competitor and just a guy who's a fan of his, right? So I slowed down slightly and was looking over my back shoulder, like as he was a few meters behind me coming up, and I was like, yo dude, like, how's it going? How you feeling? And he just straight faced, didn't say a word, didn't look at me, just ran right past. Oh, sick. All right. Well, I guess back to running. So yeah, I just kind of sat in behind Goggins for a bit there, followed him, and I just wanted to kind of leave him be. I didn't want to pester him or anything. It seemed like he just was straight business, so I was business too. And yeah, we were running kind of one behind the other for a little while there. Eli was up like a few hundred meters ahead, and then we caught up to Eli, and Eli was running next to him, kind of said a couple words here and there. And so then it ended up being like four of us running in a kind of like a foursome, like 2 and 2. Goggins and Eli were in front, and it was me and another guy behind, and we were all just kind of running, and the guy next to me asked like, oh, so where are you from? I said, I live in British Columbia, Canada, Kelowna. And then Goggins turns around to me and goes, I fought a fuck ton of fires out in BC. I was like, oh yeah? I'm from Kelowna. Like, all those $1 million houses burnt up in like 2023. It was like a pretty tough year. And he goes, yeah, I was out there. He's like, "Oh, you still smoke jumping?" Yep. And that was the extent of my conversation with David Goggins. So that was all I got, was that he fought a fuck ton of fires out in BC. So that was pretty sick, though, hearing about that in his book, and knowing that he's a smoke jumper. And yeah, they definitely got a ton of fires out in BC, especially a couple of years ago, and like all of the west side Kelowna burnt down. So that was pretty cool to hear that he was out there fighting those fires. And yeah, so that was my extent of conversation with Goggins. And after that, we were heading into base camp, the aid station called Base Camp, and it was kind of just this undulating dirt, red dirt trail type of thing that was pretty like flat, but it had some undulation up and down, and it went for a number of miles. And I remember last year I was really hurting by this point. Like, it was getting dusk, and getting into base camp last year, it was actually pitch black for me. I had my headlamp on and everything. Whereas this year I got into base camp and it was still light out, which was a big boost mentally for me, knowing that I was ahead of where I was last year. I kind of sat down there, kind of adjusted my shoes a bit, had a little more food. Eli again was in and out. Goggins was in and out within a few minutes. I probably took about 20 minutes at this one. So after that, I basically said to Eli, like, "Yo, dude, good luck. Like, I probably won't see you again, and unless something happens." But his pace was a little bit quicker than mine at the time, and I just wanted to run my own race. I wasn't really trying to, just do something that I shouldn't and blow myself up, or I wanted to run my race. It was important for me to finish and go at the pace that I want to. So yeah, I let him and Goggins, they both went out ahead of me, and I stayed there for a little bit, got some food, and then made my way out of base camp. It was still light out. And it's funny, each of these aid stations has like a theme. They each do like a theme, and they kind of have a competition who has the best aid station. And that this one, there's guys wearing like overalls and stuff like that. So they were super nice. All the volunteers there are amazing. The medical volunteers, the guys that help you get water and food, and everybody. So they do a hell of a job. They're pretty awesome. So I made my way out of base camp there. Then next one you go to 4 miles away. It's called Lockhart H2O. So it's just a water fill-up station, because after that there's a 20-mile stretch with nothing. But that water station, it's basically nothing. It's just like you can fill your bottle again. So basically for like 24 miles, there's absolutely nothing, which is almost a marathon. No aid, no water, or no food, no crew, no drop bags, nothing. So I started making my way up. You kind of climb this hill, and then it's kind of basically just this flat kind of trail that goes into that Lockhart H2O. So by this time, it was starting to get dark, and it was dark by the time I got there. I actually wanted to see how long I could go without using my headlamp, just because I wanted to save the battery for as long as possible for this long night to come up ahead. Because my headlamp, it's really bright, and it has like tons of lumens, and it's very, very bright, but in order to last all night, you have to have it on the lower settings. So I just wanted to delay it as long as possible. So I got into Lockhart, kind of squinting my eyes, trying to find out where to go. But I got there and filled up some water bottles, took my poles out. I hadn't used my poles up until this point. So took my poles out, and that was a big help too. You start to feel like how much the poles can take off your legs just from using your arms and all that. So this next section was one that was really meant a lot to me, because from Lockhart H2O, the water fill up, to the next aid station called Oasis. This was a section last year where I hurt my knee on. Last year I was descending in the nighttime down this hill, and it's all kind of this like loose, like rocks in this dirt kind of mud trail, and they're not in there too solid, so like if you step on them, they can break away. And that's exactly what happened last year. I was walking or descending this hill, and I stepped on a rock, and it broke away, and I hyperextended my knee and just absolutely toasted it. And after that, I was trying to tape it up and just get to the next aid station, and I sat on this fiberglass hull that put all these little fiberglass furs into my shorts and my back, and I was bleeding from getting pricked, and it was terrible. So this year I left the Lockhart H2O one, and just started, picking my way through it, man. Just remembering all this stuff that I'd done the year before. And that was kind of nice. Having done up to 100 miles last year, I knew what to expect up until that point. So maybe I could do it a little bit quicker, maybe because I knew what was coming up ahead. So I was moving pretty well through this section, albeit my legs and feet definitely started to hurt at this point. I finished cycling across all of Africa from Cairo to Cape Town in July, middle of July. I took a little bit of time there, maybe a week or so, without doing a bunch of leg stuff. And then in like August, September is kind of when I did my running training. But then I had a flare up of an injury that I had a couple of years ago, which was a stress fracture in my left femur. So I thought I was dealing with that again. So I didn't run for a couple of weeks during this lead up to Moab. So I really didn't have as much time on my feet as I had wanted, but I had a super good cardiovascular base from cycling, 8 to 10 hours a day every day in Africa. And my legs were super strong, but they just didn't have all that, like the pounding that you get from spending time on feet while running. So by this time in going to Oasis, my feet were in pretty like rough shape as far as just like pain in them. It's like this aching pain that like, even if you take your shoes off, even if you put your feet up, it doesn't go away. It's not like at the end of the day, you put your feet up and it's just like, oh yeah, it feels nice. It's like, no, you put your feet up and they hurt still. Like everything hurts. So, but I'd say probably, let me check what mile that is. Oasis is mile 53. I'd say by mile 40 of the race, every single step for the next 200 miles was like excruciating. It hurt like really bad. Every single step was a chore to take. So definitely if I'm going to do more of these, I think I need more time on my feet just leading up to it. But that being said, I felt really fit and really energized and everything going through this Oasis section. So yeah, I was just doing what I could to keep moving forward. A couple times just sat for like a second just to like have a quick snack, have a quick bite, and then kept moving. I actually ran into Andy at this point, Andy Glaze, who I ran with around the Jacob's Ladder area last year. So it was sweet to see him again, and I could hear him making like I knew it was him before he even came up on me, because he does a thing where he goes like mile 10, mile 20, mile 30, like the whole way through the race. And at mile 40, I heard him, and just in the darkness behind me, I heard mile 40, only 200 miles left. I'm like, oh, I recognize that voice anywhere. That's Andy. And then, he came up with another guy. I think his name was Chad. And we were running together probably for 6 miles or so. I was running with them. And it was great just like talking with them. And it's nice having these like trail conversations. You meet all these different people and learn about them. And it's a pretty cool experience just being out there with people suffering together. It's like very bonding almost. You really cherish those miles if you have a good connection with people. I was running with them. They again were going a bit quicker than I could keep up to if I was going to make it the whole race. Like I didn't want to blow up and do something that I shouldn't so early in the race. So I let them go about 6 miles from Oasis, and I ended up just making my way there. And getting into Oasis, you can see it off to your right, but it's still a mile away because you have to go around like this part and come in. So it's always like, oh, like you're so close, but you have to put this last mile in. So I made it there. And this is the aid station last year where I spent like hours and hours until the morning. I left the next day at 11 a.m. because the cutoff was 12 noon. So that's kind of how I got behind my times last year. So this year I spent, I think, about an hour there. My feet were really killing me. I took a Tylenol there for the first time just to kind of take a bit of the edge off. And I took my shoes off, just kind of massaged my feet a bit. Got some food. A lot of these aid stations too, they have such like sweet food, like they'll give you like spaghetti and meatballs, or they'll give you make you these egg tortillas or cheese quesadillas or like all this stuff. But because I'm celiac, I can't have a lot of it. So all of them had like white plain gluten-free bread and like ham slices and cheese. So a lot of these aid stations, I just had like a plain dry bread, ham and cheese sandwich. So I had that, and then I had like some gels and some stuff like that. Then I started making my way. We're kind of all gathered around this little fireplace, and it's funny just to see the different kind of moods people are in. One of the actual guys who came second at Bigfoot, his name's Brody, I'm pretty sure. He was like expected to podium for this race. I'm pretty sure he actually had he was out at Oasis. I'm not sure exactly. I thought it was something medical, but yeah, it's crazy to think like you never know what's going to happen to who or what the race is going to be like. So a number of people were dropping at Oasis there. It's just such a tough section that like really takes your soul, like kills the morale. Just it's really tough. So you could see some people when they're in there just like having stomach issues, just like, oh, screw this, man. I do not want to keep going. Other people were just like, oh, yeah, I'm feeling great. Like, I don't want to run, but I'm going to, just like trying to. It's like, but you're not fooling anybody. I know you don't want to be doing this either. Like, you're trying to fool yourself at this point. Like, just trying to do whatever they can to, keep going. And it's funny because there's no right way to do ultra. It's like, you can either like hate yourself the whole time and say like you suck, keep going, this or that, or you can be super positive and like you're doing great. But as long as you get through it, there is no right way. Everybody's going to do it different. So it's funny just to see the different ways people are doing things. But me, I was feeling just kind of like I got to keep moving. So yeah, started going, suited up. It was raining at this point, and this section from Oasis to it's called Indian Creek is the one I did last year, and I did it in my thermal clothes last year because that was all I had left after I sat on that fiberglass hull where all those furs got on me. So I had to put on my thermal stuff last year, and I was running through the heat of the day, like middle of the day, and all this thermal gear. It was just absurd. But actually on this Oasis, the stretch before that I got into where I sat on the fiberglass hull last year, as I was running with Andy and them, I knew it was going to be there at some point. There's no reason for anybody to take this thing away. Like, I knew it was going to be there, and then I saw it, and there was a guy sitting on it, and I just thought, nobody. Like, I remember going by him and saying, oh, bro, you want to get off that. You're going to be itchy as hell. He's like, no, really? I'm like, yeah, sorry, brother. I didn't see him anymore after that, but I'm sure it didn't tickle for him. But anyways, I went from this next section, Oasis, to Indian Creek. This time I was doing it at night, whereas last year I did during the day. And I was actually running with the girl at the start. We left the aid station together who had the seizures last year, who was taken out because of the seizures. So, yeah, it was interesting talking with her about her experience last year and this year and the differences. And so we did the first bit together and then kind of separated, and I was alone for a little while. And this section was really starting to get like muddy, like really sloppy, and like kind of have to go the edge of the trail. It's like it's a big kind of dirt road, but so uneven, and there's rocks everywhere. Like, to drive it would take almost as long as you could run it in just because it's so uneven. So it's pretty wide, probably like 10, 15 feet wide. But you'd be going kind of right onto the edge of it to get around these like massive puddles. And I saw later in the race, the whole thing turned into like a river, and people were like up to their knees in water. So I was glad that I wasn't there for that part of it because I got there a bit earlier. But yeah, in the middle of the night, I was running this. It was getting sloppier and sloppier, wetter and wetter. I actually met a guy from Canada. I forget where, on the East Coast somewhere. I think Montreal or something. Anyways, we ran together for a while until we got to that next aid station, and it was just nice to have some company, somebody who I could talk with in kilometers instead of miles. Is just I put my watch in miles this year, so I wouldn't have to convert it in my mind, but still the whole race I'm converting miles to kilometers and what I have left and what I've gone and this and that. And yeah, so I did that because last year I had it in kilometers, and it's almost 400 kilometers a race where it's 240 miles. It's like 386 kilometers or something. And it just was more mentally taxing for me to like think about I have so many more kilometers left than this many miles left. Even though it's the same distance on paper, it's just a little mental trick that helped me this year. So, but again, I was still trying to figure it all out in my brain and convert it. So it was nice to have somebody just say, yeah, we got 10K left. I'm like, oh, I know 10K. But yeah, so we got in there just as it became dawn, like the sun was just coming up. And again, last year, this Indian Creek aid station was a crude one. So I saw Kyle there last year. I was able to go take a quick nap in the bus, things like that. But this year, it wasn't that. So it was just an aid station under this kind of awning thing. And everybody was huddled up around this little fire and like soaking wet. It was pissing rain. And yeah, so I got in there in the morning and I spent, again, probably about an hour, like took my, this one I had a drop bag. So I took off my shirt and like changed my shirt. I think I changed my socks. Or I took my shoes off and just kind of did some foot care. I put the same socks back on. But you were able to have pacers start in at this one. So because crew weren't able to come until 3 aid stations from now at Shea Mountain, if you had a pacer at this section, they would have to go whatever it was, 40-something miles until the next aid station where crew is available, so like 3 down the line. And this was the section that my friend Gabe was going to do with me, these 3 aid stations. But again, Gabe hurt himself speed flying and broke his back and his ankles. So I was alone for this stretch because my pacer, Ryan, I kind of wanted to use him strategically later in the race. So I'd have kind of some company in the harder sections. I knew I could make it at least to Bridger Jack, where I got to last year without any help. So, yeah. So I set out there on my own, and actually my crew, there's a road that you run on this dirt road, and then it's on an asphalt road. So my crew actually was there, parked alongside the road. I couldn't get anything from them, couldn't like get help from them or anything, but it was nice just like running by and seeing them and like waving and like them kind of yelling at me and giving me some words of encouragement and like getting some clips as I was running by with the camera and stuff. So that was nice to see them. Gave me a little bit of a boost there. And then I get on this long road. You run for probably like a few miles along this asphalt road, which I could pick up my speed a bit again, but it's hard on your feet. Like I remember running this last year, and again, last year at this section, my knee was absolutely toast. I was like hobbling along. It was later in the day, right before the cutoff when I left last year. This year, I tried to stay ahead of the cutoffs by like 8 at the minimum to 12 hours. I was like trying to stay ahead of the cutoffs the whole time. So when I'd leave like at least at the minimum 8 hours ahead of when the cutoff for that aid station was. And then I just try and keep moving. So yeah, this next section was called from Indian Creek, and then you go to a section called aid station called the Island. So last year I was running basically all this in the dark, whereas this year, again, this was in the afternoon, so I was doing pretty well. It was actually morning time, so I was doing pretty well. Ran down that asphalt road, then you turn off onto this trail, and then you go through this kind of like dirt trail section that has these massive like formations in the back, like the big spire rocks with the spires and everything. It's like a pretty awesome backdrop. And then then you keep going there, and I linked up with a guy who I'd been talking to at the aid station before, and he actually lived in Moab. This was his first race, but we had a couple of mutuals from like base jumping. He knew some of the base jumpers in Moab, and he had his pacer, and they were both super chill dudes. So I ran with them for a while, and then we got to this section where up until this point, you could jump or go around basically every water thing. And this was like a river that had formed that you just could not jump over. It was probably 15 feet wide across, and like no matter where you went, up or down it, you couldn't get over it. So I had to suck it up and take off my shoes and socks. And a lot of people I found out like just said screw it, and they walked through it. and deal with the wet shoes and wet feet. And like, I obviously later in the race I had to do stuff like that, and I didn't care too much. But early in the race, I didn't have any spare shoes with me because I couldn't see my crew for 3 more aid stations because I got that later pick. So some people had only 2 away, and some people were putting shoes in their drop bags. Because of the Canada postal strike in Canada, I ordered a bunch of shoes, and they never came in the mail. So I had to go to the store and buy ones that I could make do with, but they definitely weren't the ones I ideally wanted, or like wide Speed Goat Hokas. I was dealing with like an older pair of like narrower ones, and just nonsense, dude. So I didn't want to get my shoes wet. It's a long story short. So I took my shoes off, took my socks off. I was using toe socks this year, which helped a lot. Last year I had torn up feet, everything. You still get blisters and things, but having the toes in individual like sections really helped with blisters. So you take your shoes off, take your gaiters off, take your socks off, walk across this 15-foot thing, sit down, dry them, back up, put your shoes on, socks on, and get running again. And lo and behold, 100 meters later, there was another river to cross. And I did the same thing again, and another river. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I basically just like followed this river as best I could. Like, I took my shoes off a couple times, and then I like took a little bit of a detour up and around, like following the river, just to like not go in it. And I remember this one guy was saying, I forgot what it was called, a something fallacy. It was another runner who was like, oh man, you got to keep your shoes off now every time you cross until this point, because like if you were to walk through it on the last one and get your feet all wet, then all the work you've done up until this point would be like nullified. It'd be for nothing. I was like, oh, now I got to do it if you're bringing out words like fallacy and nonsense like that. So yeah, I followed along this river for a while, and at one point I ended up just taking one shoe off, holding it, and like hopping in that foot and bouncing my poles across so I'd only have to take one shoe off. All in all, I probably had 15 minutes to my crossings and this and that. So to me, it was worth it. I had dry feet. My feet were feeling good. Made my way along this stretch that last year I was doing in the pitch black and like hearing coyotes howl and stuff like that. And this year I got to see the amazing landscape going up to the island there, these huge rock formations and just like a barren desert landscape. And then you kind of make your way up into this area where the island is. It's called the aid station. And all the people I was running with just got there, 10, 15 minutes for me. So it wasn't like it was a huge delay with the socks and shoes thing, but my feet were feeling way better than all their feet. So I was happy with my decision. There I got some foot care done. I got a little bit of tape on my heel and a couple of my toes. And the same medic that was there last year was there again this year. And last year I got to the island at midnight. And I left at 1:59 a.m. when the cutoff was 2 or 2:30, whatever. I left 1 minute before the cutoff last year. Whereas this year, I was there way earlier. It was like people around, felt like more of a lively setting. Last year I got there were like people dropping out. People just looked like they'd been through war, like all curled up and like huddled around the fire, pitch black. Like I was the last one to leave there. So when I left the island last year, I was officially in last place. Like the sweepers to clean the course markings were coming right behind me. Like I was officially in last place last year when I left there. Whereas this year, again, I was 10 hours, 12 hours ahead of the cutoff time. So I was feeling really good. Had to try and use the bathroom there. They don't have the best things. They have these like outhouse type things, or like lugaloos are called, or something like that. It's like a little tent that you zip around. It's a bucket, and then you have to take your waste and put it in this Ziploc bag thing and put this gel in. It's just, you don't want to have to go to the bathroom if you don't have to. So, but it was kind of a necessity there. So I went to the bathroom, got some food, and then then I headed out on the section to Bridgerjack. So this section up to Bridgerjack was my last section. I made it last year. And again, I was doing this section in the middle of the night last year. So this time I set out, and Bridgerjack to me was one of the hardest stretches of the whole race. just because it's a gradual incline the whole way, but it's uphill basically the whole route. So you go from leaving the island at mile 81 and you get to Bridger Jack at mile 96. So right there is 15 miles, and it's uphill the whole entire way. Whereas like some of the other climbs had uphills, but they had undulations as well. So you'd go up and down, or be flat for a while. Bridger Jack, basically once you start, it goes uphill the whole entire way. It's like a single track trail that goes up. And I remember taking like a 10-minute nap there. I was just so tired at the time. Like my eyes were so heavy. I like laid on this rock that was under this, or like a slick rock. It was just flat. And I used my bag. Did I even take my bag off? I think I just laid my head on the ground. And you're so tired there. You can just try and like lay down or fall asleep wherever. You don't usually really fall asleep. It's more just like laying, closing your eyes for a minute, just taking a quick break. But I took about 10 minutes there and then got back to it, started hiking up, and it was basic gradual incline the whole way up. And I got to this point, this guy Alex, I'm pretty sure his name was Alex. I linked up with him. We walked/ran together for a little while. He was feeling sick. He's like, "Oh, such an idiot! Drank too many ginger ales at the last aid station," and he was like puking like crazy, like full on chundying on the trail, and like it was pretty funny to watch actually. And I saw a snake along Bridger Jack going up, and we basically just I went ahead of him for a while, and then like he would catch up, and we basically just did that for a little while on our way up. And then like right before the top, maybe like 5 miles back, I was ahead of him for a little while, maybe like an hour. And then all of a sudden I just hear like a howl behind me. I was like, I don't know, what the hell was that? And like apparently he had been like sprinting to catch up to me because he had no water or no food left. He's like, "Please, dude, do you have like anything I can have?" So I gave him like a honey stinger waffle. He was like very appreciative, and by this point I surpassed like the photographer that was like 3.5 miles out, and it was just becoming like dark at this point. I think we were like one of the last ones to get photos going through that section because the photographers kind of leave in the evening because it's too dark. So we were making our way up that last few miles. And again, it was just getting dark when I'm almost getting to the end of the Bridger Jack section, whereas last year I started in the dark, and by this point it was light when I was finishing. So I walked past this same carcass of an animal that I saw last year. I don't know if it was a deer or a cow, something like that. It was just a big carcass I saw last year as well. In the exact same spot, looks the exact same decay. Like it was pretty crazy actually. But yeah, I saw that same carcass, and then finished these last couple miles up to Bridger Jack. At this point, it was just starting to drizzle as I was coming in, so I like picked up my pace a little bit, just getting into Bridger Jack. Got in, sat in a tent. Bridger Jack is probably one of my favorite aid stations actually this year. Whereas last year, I got into Bridger Jack with probably like 10, 15 minutes before the cutoff. And I had so many things to do with my feet, and like I was in such a bad way. Just went all night like limping on my knee. Got to the aid station, and I was like trying to do these tasks I had to leave last year, and I just didn't make it before that. I think it was 9:30 a.m. cutoff time. So that's officially where I ended last year. It was mile 90. What does it say? Mile 96.49 was Bridger Jack. I think on my watch I had gone 100 miles last year. So that's where I made it last year. And this year, get in, and we're sitting in this kind of tent area with the tarps around it, and its wind is howling the tents and the tarps, but inside there it's pretty warm. Like there's these little propane fires, and and I'm sitting in there, and I got a little food and water, and basically you just get in, and it's just like it's like different stages of people going through just like struggle, and it looks like almost like I've never been to war, but like people just coming back from war, like off from a mission, like they're all sitting around the fire. There's different stages of people, so you see the people that just come in, they like just come in and sit down. They're just like, oh, like they'll take their hat off. There's hands in their head in their hands, like so tired. And somebody will nudge them like, ah, good job, buddy. Like, no, take a load off, stay a little while. And then they're like, they've been there a little bit longer. And then you see the people that are gearing back up to get ready to go. And then you see the people that are leaving. And it's like, it's just a never ending kind of circle of people coming in. So I spent a little bit of time in there. At this point, I had very bad chafing on the inside of my thighs, just due to the wet and the rain and everything. It made my pants so wet, like my shorts, and they have an inside liner on them, but it would get kind of crimpled up when I was running and just chafe. So the inside of my thighs were such bad chafing, and all the places that you know, quite frankly, just don't want to talk about, like your genitals, your butt, all those areas are completely chafed, raw. And you're doing your best you can to just like, at the island, I put some KT tape over my thigh ones, and that actually ended up helping a lot. They stayed the whole time, just so my thighs weren't rubbing together. But like the ones on your butt, all that stuff, your genitals, it's like you basically just have to grab like Vaseline or grab like squirrel's nut butter and rub it. I ended up just using Vaseline every time, just like a big handful, like wipe it on your butt, like you're wiping your butt with it basically, and just like rub it all around there. And so yeah, you're doing all this type of stuff at an aid station. Like you're making sure your headlamp is charging from your charging brick while you're there. You're making sure you're replenishing your gels out of your drop bag. You're making sure you're maybe putting on a dry shirt, things like that. You're looking as to what's coming up ahead. Just all those type of things. I was there a little bit longer than I should have been probably, but it was a nice vibe. Like the volunteers there were fun, and they were like treating people on their feet, or like people are telling stories, this or that. So but eventually you do gotta realize why you're there, and you gotta hold yourself accountable and get up and get going. And the next section from there on is new to me. I've never been more than this section in the race. So the next section is one of the tougher parts of the whole race. It's called Shea Mountain. So at this point, we're probably around like 5,500 feet. And then so going up to Shea Mountain was 8,000 feet. And then the peak of Shea Mountain, so there's Shea Mountain Aid Station, and then after Shea Mountain Aid Station is the Shea Mountain Climb, where you go over 10,000 feet, like 10,500. But Bridger Jack was at, it was at 6,500 feet, and the island where I came from was 5,500. So now I was at 6,500 feet, and now it was time to go up to the Shea Mountain Aid Station, which was mile 114, which was, an 18-mile stretch. So it was the middle of the night. It was starting to rain. It was really windy, and you're inside that tent area where the Bridger Jack aid station is, and you walk out, and it's just freezing cold. Like it just drops terribly, the temperature. So I get out there, start, just picking my way around. You kind of descend for a little bit, and then you start having this climb. I was so tired at the time. You're picking your way through this kind of, it's like a riverbed that's a dried up riverbed. So just kind of walking along that, and then you start on this gradual incline. And I took another 10-minute lay down on this rock kind of off the trail, and got back on it, took some more gels of like caffeine just to try and wake myself up. And then I started hiking this section up, kind of jogging when you can, hiking. And it's nighttime, and I'm doing pretty well on it. And then all of a sudden it starts to rain. And it goes from being a kind of like a dry trail, like dirt trail, to now it's completely starting to have like a river almost running down it. This is a single track trail too, so now this water's running down it. And it's now becoming like mud, so you're almost like jumping from side to side to trail to like make your way up. It's raining, so I put my poncho on. Like I'm trying to keep my dryer gear in my bag dry, my electronics, like everything, right? And so you're making your way up, and then it gets to a super steep part where this would be really tough just if it was dry. But now it's complete mud, and it's almost just the right mixture as to where it's like a clay now. So when you step on this and you lift your shoe up, like a whole encapsulation of dirt and everything sticks above your shoe, makes your shoe 3 times as heavy. Like the surface area of it's twice as big. Like it looks like you have these huge moon shoes on. The dirt and mud goes all the way around it. But now when you step in the mud and you go to lift off, your shoe stays still. So your foot's almost coming out of your shoe, but you're wearing gaiters that are like strapped to the bottom. Mine are. So it's holding your foot in the shoe. And it's just got really, really hard on like my Achilles. Like it's like you're lifting your foot out of like quicksand each time you're trying to step. And then you take a step up and your foot slides back down. So you're like digging your poles in, trying to go up there and take in. At this point, you're 10 miles in. You're alone in the dark here. You're hallucinating. You've been up for 42 hours with, I don't know, a couple minutes of sleep. 20 minutes or something like that, or no sleep at all, really. And you're starting to like hallucinate, see things in the rocks and the trees. And the thing I see with hallucinations is like, I know where I am. I'm not like delirious or like out of it so much. You don't know what's going on. You don't always know what's going on. It's just like your brain takes the easiest path of resistance of what it's seeing to what it could be. So to me, I was like, I'd be looking at a rock and I'd see like designs in the rock, and obviously it's just a random rock. But in my mind, I was like, wait, did somebody like paint on that? Like, it looks like there's like a painting or something. So I get like real close to this rock and look at it, and you are so tired, you really can see like, designs and faces and things like that in the rock. But then you realize, like, oh, what am I doing? It's just a rock. Like, nobody's out here painting these things. What the hell am I thinking? So then you snap back into it and get back to the task at hand. But that up to Shea Mountain, the aid station, was a really, really tough, probably like one of the toughest parts of the whole race. I know a lot of people were very fed up with that. And you just want to run and you just can't, right? So also at this, like, going throughout, and I don't care who you are, you're always battling. You can say, like, sitting here when you sign up for your next race, you'll say, I don't care what happens, I'm not quitting no matter what. I'm hard, like, I'm going to make it. I don't care. It's just one foot in front of the other. And let me tell you, man, when you are out there, you start thinking of the wildest things and the wildest ways to justify leaving. Thinking about what if, like, I wonder if the leader, like, or that guy that was supposed to come second, like, he came out. I wonder, like, why'd he go out? Like, if he went out, it's probably all right if I go out. Like, I made it further than he did, or like Goggins. I don't know. I wonder if Goggins still in the race. Like, if Goggins went out, I surely could go out. But it's always just like, you're not going to quit, but it just your mind's doing this, man. It's just, it's so tired. It's so fed up. You're just so frustrated. It's like you're doing all this. The big part of the race is just withstanding those thoughts and feelings and just saying, like, nope, shut up. That's not reality. Like, we're here for a reason. This is what we're doing. We're going to do it. Like, keep moving forward. But those thoughts, they come in, man. They're constantly coming in. I think the really good runners and things are just good at, like, taking that, turning it around and saying, like, nope, not today. Nope, push away. They're just really good at, like, bouncing back, pushing off that, no justifications, like, just holding yourself accountable to why you're there, right? and thinking about all the times, all the troubles you went through last year, like all the preparation you had leading up to it, all the money you've had into it, the other people that are here supporting you. It's like all this stuff goes through your head. So, I made it up this section, and then you had this long kind of downhill stretch on a road that was like completely mud. I was like just squelching my way down it, like every step you're just sliding. And I'm so tired at this point. And then the last like 2.5 miles is like a very steep road up there. And I was alone at this point because I passed a number of people on the downhill. And I remember literally just like sleepwalking up this. Like my eyes are completely closed. Obviously you're awake because you're standing, but it's like you're almost sleeping and like catching yourself as you're walking. Like I was kind of like weaving on the road a bit. And like just out of it, man, just so tired, but like just determined to get to this next aid station. And then this other group kind of like caught up to me a little bit. There are 3 of them. I'm like, hey, can I just like stay with you guys a bit for this last little bit? And they're like, yeah, for sure. And then it was nice to just have like another couple lights around and people. And then actually after like half a mile, I ended up going faster than them just because I woke up a bit more. So then I went solo again to the aid station, got in just as the sun was rising to the Shea Mountain aid station, which is at mile 114. And again, this was an awesome spot if you got picked here because you just went through like this most treacherous section at night, and now you'd be able to have your crew and everything, right? But nope. I got chosen for the Monticello Lake one, which was the next aid station. So I get to the Shea Mountain one, and I can't have crew here. So, but what I can have now is a new pacer pickup. So if your pacer went with you back at Indian Creek for those previous 3 aid stations, Indian Creek to the island to Bridger Jack to Shea Mountain, you would have had to have one pacer that whole time. But now you could get a new pacer. And that's where Ryan came in, so it was really nice to see Ryan there. I couldn't have the crew vehicle. I couldn't have Kyle and Joe and the RV and all that luxuries, but I could have Ryan. So I actually ended up taking a 1-hour nap here. This is my first substantial sleep. But again, I laid down on this cot, and my hips and my bones and my feet and everything hurt so bad. I'm just laying there, and like, you just have this like shock of like spasm through your body and your leg, and it's like, oh man, you're just so amped up and wound up, and your brain's going. You can't sleep. You're just laying there basically for an hour. So after that, I got up and had what did I have? I think I had a tortilla, gluten-free tortilla with some eggs in it. I had been having up until that point a gluten-free tortilla with some ham and some cheese and heated. That was really nice. They had usually a gluten-free tortilla or the gluten-free bread at most aid stations. So it was just if they could have a pan that was clean for me to use. So I really did have to like watch out for myself a lot because, I mean, if I got cross-contamination or gluten allergy during this race, my race is basically over. Like I'm toast. So yeah, I spent a little bit of time there, got things ready, and then Ryan and I left, and it was really nice to have Ryan there, man. It was the first time I had a pacer this whole race, and just somebody to, bullshit with, just talk about how much this sucks together, and like talk about stories, just kind of get your mind off it, It's not as much like pacing, like I'm trying to hold the pace he's running. He's more just running with me at my pace, and just trying to kind of keep me accountable, right? If I was like, oh, my feet hurt, like, all right, come on, man, let's go. Come on, keep up. And just doing stuff like that. So this Shea Mountain section now, we were at around 8,000 feet, and then we go to 10,500 feet. So this is the last kind of like push on this big climb. So we go kind of just up, and now I'd never been this far in the race, like I said. So before, earlier in the race, it was this desert kind of red rock, huge rock formations, and now we're getting into this birch forest, which is these birch trees with these bright yellow leaves, and it's fall, and they're all changing colors, and we're running through these kind of like meadows going up into this climb. It's like single track, you're climbing up, it's like a dirt trail and going through all these birch trees and everything. And now the sun's out and, and we're climbing up this mountain. And even though it was really like tough climb getting up there, the air's getting a bit thinner at around 10,000 feet. It was really nice to like see this change of scenery. And like I'd always seen videos and photos from people doing Moab and thinking like, man, that's so far in the race. Like when you get to the birch trees, like all I've ever known is a desert, or all I've ever seen is a desert. So that was pretty sick getting there. And then, yeah, we got up to the highest point, 10,500 and something feet. And we sat for like 5 minutes, ate like a honey stinger chews. Ryan was saying he never wants to see honey stingers again in his life. He's had so many of these damn things. He's just sick of them. So, yeah. But anyways, we then started making our way down. And the way down almost hurts more because your legs are getting pounded. But, I mean, you're letting gravity take you. Your momentum's going. So it's good. But, yeah, it was tough climb. And after that, we kind of made our way down into this forested section, and then you get onto this road, and then you run this road into Monticello Lake. So Monticello Lake was finally my aid station where I had crew. After 110 miles, I hadn't seen them since the second aid station of the race at mile 16. We're now mile 126. We're over halfway, just crossed the halfway mark. I finally got crew, which was really nice, man. It was really good to see them. I got into the RV, got to take my shoes off, like change my shirt, change my leggings, my shorts, things like that. I got some Annie's mac and cheese that we heated up in the microwave, so it was like a little bit of warm food that I could have. It was just like nice to see the crew, nice to see Kyle, nice to see Joe. Just, yeah, just boost your morale a bit. So I was there maybe an hour, and then after that was the next section to Dry Valley, it's called. So from mile 126 to mile 143 was where Dry Valley was. So this section was tough for me. It was started out really good, and then I was riding with this guy, and we were kind of just talking, having a really good pace. And then I started to feel the same feeling that I had in my knee last year after I injured it, after I hyperextended it, in the same knee that I hurt actually. But I didn't do anything to it this year. Obviously, it wasn't as bad. Like last year, I really buckled it, and it was like toast right afterwards. This year, I could just kind of feel something coming on when I like straightened it. So I pulled off to the side, like took my knee brace out of my bag, took my shoe off, put the knee brace on, like added around 10 minutes there. And then like I started going back on the trail. This one's kind of like a wider, it'd be like a side-by-side, a 4x4 trail type of thing that just kind of went through the desert. You're getting out of that Monticello Lake area where there's a birch trees going kind of back into a desertish area. So it was, just kind of loose rock and dirt, and you're going through it. I ended up taking another 10-minute lay down there just to kind of, I was like falling asleep again while I was kind of running. So took a few minutes there, and then I kept going. But on this section, it was very strange. It was the first time I felt it this race, but then I felt it for the rest of the race until the very end. I had the strongest feeling of deja vu I've ever had in my entire life, as if I've ran every section from that Dry Valley on. It was almost as if I had ran it before, like I had completed the race before, and I have never done them in my entire life. Like, there's been no reason for me to know what would be coming up, what was to come, like I've never seen it before, but everything I came across, it felt like I'd done it, and it was almost like I knew kind of what was coming up. I have no way to explain it, no reason, no logic behind it, but it's the only time I've ever felt like that in my entire life, and it's very strange. Like I'm not sure if, I don't know, like, yeah, it was a very unique experience and feeling, but I did this section where it was very tough for me. I think I was just low at the time. It was nighttime now. It went into the sunset set on this stretch, which was obviously like an amazing sunset to see, but it was a tough stretch for me. Just kind of feet were killing me. Just, yeah, things adding up. You're over 100 and something miles into the race, over 120 miles, over halfway. Like the fatigue, you've been up for multiple days. It was starting to add on me on this one. It was like undulating up and down, up and down, up and down. So eventually I get to this like asphalt road, which is the last like couple miles of mile of the course, and then I pull into the aid station Dry Valley. I don't see Kyle, I don't see the van, I don't see Ryan, don't see Joe. I was like, oh, you bastards, like, where are you boys? So I was just like in a foul mood going in there. I got like some food, and then I looked over and saw them. I'm like, oh, thank goodness, like, you guys are here. But still just feeling like depleted, tired. This was a crude aid station, so I went to the van, like our RV. Again, I was like, every time I saw it moving in these things too, I start getting like super shivery, like shaking cold, and like just start shivering. So I put on like a hoodie, just like had some more Annie's, heated up mac and cheese. And then again, I took a little bit of a nap there. I took about a half an hour or so, but again, it was just excruciating pain. Like, everything hurt so bad that you're just like tossing and turning the whole time. So I did that, got dressed back up, and this section I had Ryan for again, which was pretty sweet because it was nighttime now. It was just a dull section. This next one was it's called the Needles. And that one is at mile 157. So you go from mile 143 to 157, about a 14-mile stretch there. And it's just a dirt road, and it's just straight, flat and straight, dirt road, and pitch black. And yeah, Ryan and I just picked away at it. We're going along there. Really not much happened this leg. You feel like shit and you don't want to leave the RV, but you got to, and you just keep moving. And yeah, you just tell stories the whole time and reminisce on things. And Ryan came to Mount Kilimanjaro with me during my Africa trip. It was the only person I saw basically the whole trip. Besides my parents at the start, I saw Ryan for like a week at halfway through when we climbed Kilimanjaro together. So we're just talking about stuff like that or other things, just keep your mind off it. I'd go and like I'd be like almost like pleading with him. And oh man, I just need to sit 1 minute. He's like, you have 1 minute. So I'd just sit and like I hold my feet for a sec, like, oh gosh. And he's like, all right, minute's up, let's go. It's like, he's just got no sympathy for me, but that's his job, was to keep me on track and help me out. So yeah, off we went, and then you get to a stretch where it's asphalt again. It's a paved road, and it was an uphill part. So we're just, again, picking away on that. I had another 1 minute sit. I had 2 1 minute sits throughout that stretch. And then we were running with this like couple for a little bit, a guy and a girl. One was a racer, one was a pacer. And then the Needles was about half a mile away, and it starts to dribble, starts to rain. And I'm like, Ryan, I do not want to be wet when we're sitting at the aid station. Like, I want to get there. So up until this point, we were doing like pretty relatively slow miles, like anywhere sub 20, but probably like 17-minute miles, something like that, 18-minute miles. And then we dropped the hammer and put like a 7-minute mile down for the last half mile, like just full on, just sending it up there because it was starting to rain. So we come into the Needles like hot, like coming in quick, just as it's starting to rain. So we get under the tents, like I take my shoes off, like get my feet kind of moving a bit. I had some, what did I have? I had a little bit of food there. But like kind of tortilla with the ham and cheese again. Had some Gatorade, Red Bull, just stuff like that. We were there maybe an hour. Every one of these aid stations, I've had to reapply my lube on my butt and things like that. So we did that. And then, yeah, just started to get ready, and we left just as it was starting to be sunrise, kind of just before sunrise. And we went from the Needles to the next one was called Road 46 at mile 100. So that was a 13-mile stretch. And again, this one was a long dirt road, almost the same as the up to the Needles, but this one had more undulation in it, so it was more up and down. You go by some pretty sweet, huge like rock formations and houses built into the rocks and stuff like that. But there's a 3-mile stretch right at the start there where I don't remember a single thing of it. We went 3 miles, probably an hour worth of running and like jogging type of thing, shuffling, and I don't remember any of it. I was like sleepwalking the whole time. Like mile 170, I was saying like my eyes were so sleepy, like I could barely keep them open, and like, man, like I had to take these gels, goos I used, and I took like 2 caffeine ones, like just to get it in me. I was like, oh, I just need to like wake up here. So we ended up putting a little bit of a better pace down, and I woke up a little bit. But yeah, it was weird going like 3 miles and not remembering any of it. I was like almost, the reason I took the gels, like the final straw, was I was walking along, I like stepped on the edge of the road, kind of where it's like the embankment, and the like rocks kind of broke away, and I was like almost tumbled down, and I'm like, okay, this is enough nonsense. Like I need to wake up here. So I'm going to keep going. You go by these little kind of trailer home type of things. This one guy had come out and was shaking people's hands. Like he was just like amazed by the runners and everything. So it was cool to see that support. And then it started raining, and Ryan and I threw on our ponchos, just kind of miserably trudging along this road and like, yeah, just grinding away. But again, it's really nice to have some company there with you to share in the struggle and the suffer. And and then we ended up making it to that Road 46 aid station, and that's another crude one, which was nice. And actually, it was a mile closer than we expected it to be. They just changed where it was last year because of it was really muddy there this year. So it meant I had an extra mile on the next leg to go, but Ryan wasn't doing that leg, of course. So Ryan cheap got a free mile out of it there, got a free mile off, which he was happy about. But we got into that aid station. They didn't have like anything for me to eat there. It wasn't very like cleanly at that one for gluten-free stuff. They like slapped some ham and cheese on the plate, but they're using the same like gloves and stuff. So that one, it was good. I had crew there because they didn't have much for me. So again, I went in, had a full pot of mac and cheese this time actually. Annie's craft dinner, and then I started to get dressed and suited up for what was to be the hardest part of the run. So I would no longer have Ryan. Ryan did an amazing job too, man. He did 40 miles right off the bat, then later in the race did another 40. He did 80 miles like off the bench. He's not an ultra runner, and like he'll probably get into it now. He seemed to enjoy it, but like this was the longest runs he's ever done, the most running he's ever done. So kudos to him for just stepping up and being my pacer and helping me out. But he did 40 miles that first kind of stretch there, and now it was my turn to go on. So I went from aid station Road 46 at mile 170, and the next one was called Pole Canyon at 185 miles. So 15 miles. This section had a lot of climbing. Again, it was almost like the Bridger Jack section to the Shea Mountain, where it's like a gradual uphill the whole way, but you don't get the satisfaction of like reaching the peak of the summit. So it's not as like notable of a section. But to me, this was a really tough section. I started off strong. It was daylight. I was like ripping pretty good mileage. Like my legs were feeling good. I was fresh, just had a good meal. The weather was great, so I was like bouncing up these rocks. At one point though, it was like these completely just like a rock boulder thing you had to go through, and I tripped and smashed the lens on Kyle's GoPro that he had me using during the race for like the POV stuff. It's like, oh, of course, like sorry Kyle in the video. And anyways, made my way up there, and then you basically are just climbing up this mountain. It becomes kind of like this dirt trail, like mud kind of packed soil trail. And I saw some deers up there. I saw the daily deers. And yeah, I just, I sat at one point, kind of just gave my foot a rest. But yeah, just picking my way up. And it became night on this stretch. And that's kind of when it got really tough. I was just kind of over it by the time I was getting near the end of it. And there were these huge puddles in the trail. So you kind of have to go up into the trees and like hug the trees to like not get your feet wet. I was still trying not to get my feet wet because my feet at this point had swollen so much that the other pair of shoes I had, they weren't wide shoes either because they never came from Canada Post in the mail, and none of the stores had them in stock. So they're just other pairs of the same shoes I was wearing basically. So it was like there's no point even switching them. Like my feet were barely even fitting in them. But my feet were swelling so much my pinkies were now just jamming into the outside portion of the shoe, just like killing me. So yeah, that kind of sucked, but just made my way up through there, and then eventually got into that the Pole Canyon aid station. This one I spent a little bit of time in, probably like an hour or so, maybe an hour and a half, getting my feet right. I had 4 of these big tortillas with cheese and ham, and then I had what else did I have? I had a little bit more Tylenol here. The guy next to me had the same watch as me, so he used my charger for a little bit. People are dropping at all these stations, and like people are in worse in shape than you. Some are seeming like they're better shape, but yeah, it was kind of a darker aid station, like not much light. It was kind of just like I don't know, the vibe wasn't as cheery as some of the other ones, so it was kind of like I didn't want to stay too long. Kind of just did what I had to do, got my stuff out of my drop bag, and then got ready to go for what was the toughest section in the whole race, going from Pole Canyon to Geyser Pass. So Geyser Pass is the second highest climb of the race, but basically the exact same. Goes up to 10,500 feet again, just a few feet less than the Shea Mountain, but the weather's a lot worse here. So when I'm leaving Pole Canyon, it's now very foggy. It's raining. Wind is howling. Like, it's crazy. There's this guy, Bob, that I kind of leapfrogged for most of the race, and he was just done. He's like, man, I feel like I want to quit here. Like, I'm just done. I was like, oh, we'll run together for the first bit, man. Like, we'll go together. And I had this applesauce. And he's like, where'd you get that? I was like, oh, it's in my drop bag. He's like, oh, like, can I have it? Like, I'm sick of you eating the same stuff. Like, I need something new for my palate. I'm like, oh, of course, Bob. Like, I'm celiac. The one thing I can have. But, yeah, of course. Yeah, have it, Bob. No worries. So Bob was funny. We ran together for a little bit there, leaving. And then we were putting like our ponchos and stuff on, and we got separated. And then I never saw him again until like way later in the race. But we were supposed to go through this section together, and ended up I was alone going through it now. So it was like visibility was you couldn't even see like almost 10 feet in front of you, especially with your headlamp going. It was so windy. Wind was howling, like pouring rain, like really muddy. And it's like you're in the forest now, so it's leaves on the ground, and you're so tired, and the trail markings were like getting blown away, so you couldn't really tell where to go off your map. Like, you'd be looking at it here, it'd be this way, and then it would turn and tell you to go this way, and then you go that way, and it'd tell you to go back the other way. So it was like pretty complex to find the trail because there's no really trail up there. And then yeah, we kept going, or I kept going, and it was just like, it was one of the weirdest nights of my life where like I was so tired, and it was such like a strenuous section that I almost was running at times, like falling asleep while running, but like keeping myself up, and I couldn't remember what I was doing. I was like, why am I out here right now? Like, what am I doing? Like, I was trying to think in my brain, like, what am I doing? I couldn't, for some reason I thought I was in a Nelk video, like the YouTubers Nelk. I was doing a Nelk video, and that was like, no, that's not it. I'm not in an elk video. Like, what am I doing out here? And I'm like, oh, I'm running the Moab. Like, right. So yeah, I just have to like snap in a couple times like that. It was kind of weird. Um, but I remember hearing a couple years ago, Andy Glaze, who I was running with earlier, he had hurt his back. I'm pretty sure on this section where it's like a steep drop off because there's no like, it's a trail, but it goes down this steep drop off in the forest and it's like pitch black. I remember him having to drop out because he hurt his back on this section. What I think is this section. It was around mile 200, which is where I was. So I remember just thinking, like, being diligent about, like, hey, make sure you're placing your feet in the right spots. Like, you're not going to fall. But, man, that section felt like it went on forever. I was going, like, half an hour, 40-minute miles through that section, like half an hour miles, just moving so slow. Solo out there, freezing cold, like wet, like you can't believe wet, muddy footing. You'd pass people that, like, were rolled up in a ball with their emergency blanket on, just like shivering, probably have hypothermia. Like I'm surprised a lot of people did that section, man. Like, you have to climb over stuff. Like, it was brutal, grueling. Like, one of the hardest nights of my life for sure, as far as like physical exertion. Anyways, the daylight comes. I have a couple miles left, and like this guy comes up from the aid station, meets like a couple miles up the road. He's a volunteer or part of the race. And he's like, hey man, have you seen like people with hypothermia? Like, a guy came in really worried that people are like dying of hypothermia out here, or like in really bad shape. I'm like, yeah, like, to be honest, there's people up there, man. I don't know what shape they're in, but like they're not doing well. So he went up there, and I kept going down to the aid station, and my pole broke, and I was angry at that time, and it hit it, and it broke even more, and I was just like, oh, so done with this stretch, dude, just so done. At this point, like earlier in the race, I took my shoes off to walk through those puddles and stuff and the rivers. At this point, I didn't give a damn. I was shin deep in the mud and the water, everything soaking wet. So I finally get to that Geyser Pass aid station, and at mile 200, that one was 200.51. So mile 200. And again, I don't see Kyle, I don't see Joe, I don't see Ryan. They were waiting for me, but they somehow missed when I came in. They were off to a different side. I couldn't see the RV. I was just so pissed off, like just fed up with the night, man. Then I finally saw them, which was a really relief to see them, but still just like, so the morale was just cooked. I was just so done. Like, oh my gosh, dude. It was like, I remember making a video, like, that was one of the worst nights of my life. Like, freezing cold, wet, no markers, no lighting, just like awful. So anyways, I go in there. I have, some food, dry off, put a new pair of socks on. I let my feet dry out, put new blister tape on because I had brutal like trench foot and trench hands and everything. So did like a full revamp of like my clothes, but still I'm wearing the same shoes just because it's basically all I really had to wear. And after that, then I had Ryan again from now until the end of the race. So here I am, mile 200. It's like nothing's going to stop me at this point. Like, I'm still 8 or 10 hours ahead of the cutoff times. I think 10 hours ahead at that point. So like, we're doing well. Then this next section, you start off climbing a little bit up again to like 9,000 or 10,000 feet, and then you start to drop down like the rest of the race, basically. But we started off, Ryan and I, going up, and I remember making a funny video to like David Goggins. By this point had finished the night before, like the night I just went through. He had finished. And I made a video like, well, Goggins, must be nice sleeping while I'm out here running because you finished a day earlier than me. Like, just joking with him, but it was pretty funny to me anyways. And that's cool, though, man, that he got done so quick, especially at his age and everything. It's pretty inspiring. I know him and Eli finished at like the same time, so that was pretty cool to see like online when I was just getting ready to push this last 40 miles. But I wasn't done, so I had to keep going. And I made this way up with Ryan, kind of just this dirt road that you make your way up. It was really steep, and then we got up there. And then it's basically just like picking your way down this kind of sloppy single track trail and then kind of undulating up and down. You're now going through this kind of birch forest again. And yeah, just beautiful colors, man. I mean, you get on the road and you just see where you were as you drop down. You see where the guys were past aid station was. And apparently it's pretty treacherous taking the vehicle up there. And I was happy to see it gone. But you see the mountains you just came through, and then you can see like Shea Mountain off in the distance where you were like 100 miles ago off yesterday or the day before. It's like pretty crazy seeing how far you travel just with your feet, man. And yeah, so we kept going. We saw this like wild horse on the side of the road. Got a video like running by this wild horse, the De La Horse, and right in front of like the La Salle Mountains. It was pretty majestic. And then yeah, we just keep on. Basically, it's like this road that you run on. And I saw Bob again there. Ran with Bob a little bit, and then you get onto a paved road for a few miles, and then back onto a dirt road. And basically, that one took us all the way into Porcupine Rim, which is mile 220, the final aid station. And you're at that point, you're around 7,000 feet, and then or 221 miles. So you had about 18 miles left to the finish. I think it was 239 miles was the whole Moab. So you had about get into that aid station, had about 18 miles left. It was daylight. I ran into this guy, Sean, who was like a student at Yale. He was doing the whole race himself. Like, he was just crushing, dude. Super nice guy. So I kind of bonded with him for a while running along there. And it was a super nice guy to meet. We got into that aid station. So I was there with Ryan, and he's like, half an hour, that's all you get. Half an hour, and we're leaving. I'm like, okay, buddy. Yeah, you'll do what you're told. But no, he was just trying to keep me accountable. But the lady there at the aid station was also celiac, and she like was like taking such good care of me, like patting my back and like, whatever you need, hun, like whatever you need. Like, she made me all these quesadillas and things like that, and it was like pretty sweet that I knew she used her separate pan from her vehicle for me. Like, it was pretty awesome. And again, took my shoes off, just let my feet breathe for a bit, and then I'm just getting comfy, or just letting my feet breathe a little. And Ryan says, "All right, boy, time to go." It's like, no, man, no, I just go out here. It feels like, but I mean, it's that final push. You're going for the finish there, and yeah, we suited up, and it was just at sunset. So now we've been out there, 90 something hours, like almost getting in on 100 hours. Been out there, maybe 3 hours of rest at most, as far as like trying to lay down and sleep. But really, yeah, who knows how many hours you really get to sleep out there. And yeah, so we took on this final stretch. A little sad that we got to Porcupine Rim, and it's this amazing like canyon area. It's a rim of basically these cliffs and canyons that go around, and it's like this amazing landscape that you can see during the day, these big spire rocks and red rocks. But we did it at night, so again, you can't see it, but it's pretty like crazy exposure. I remember going over to the edge of one, looking like it's just a abyss into darkness. Like, you could definitely base jump that, but you don't know where the ground is. But I remember getting to the edge, and like Ryan's like, "Get back here, boy! Like, you're all wonky. Like, get away from the edge." I'm like, "Oh, I'm fine. Don't even worry about it." But yeah, we started picking our way down this, and this section just sucked. I'll tell you, this was one of my least favorite sections. It was like red sand rock trail type of thing, like a packed sand dirt. But in it is all these random rocks, like all loose random rocks, and it's undulating, and it's like you can't really get a good pace going because you're always placing your feet, and you're like, and at this point, like the side of my ankle on the outside and on the inside was just so cooked. So any like undulation that was not flat for my leg was just absolutely excruciating. Like, I had no push out of it anymore. Yeah, it's pretty brutal. So I was basically just like doing what I could, just like all grit and will at that point, just like dragging this leg along. We're moving pretty slow, like super frustrated, just like when I twist it the wrong way, just swearing, just like pissed off, man. But, each step is one step closer to the finish, and the finish is within reach. It's within sight. So we made our way through that, man. That was a brutal section. Took us way longer than it should have. I don't know, those 10 miles until the trail, or it was even more than that. It was probably 15 miles of it was this trail. That would have taken us hours and hours and hours. I don't know how many hours, but 9 hours or something stupid, a lot of hours. So anyways, eventually we finally make it to the pathway where it's 3 miles to the finish, a 5K. As Andy Glaze says, your grandma can run a 5K, your mom can run a 5K. We're right there at the end. It's all paved. And after that, because it was flat now, I was able to kind of lay the hammer down and actually run a bit because it wasn't twisting that ankle anymore. So off we go. Ryan and I ran this last 5K. We're running it pretty solid, going very well. And then, we get within 2 miles, 1 mile. And again, like I said, I've been having the craziest deja vu this whole entire time. It was absolutely insane. Even getting to the last mile, going on live, I had visions of doing this exact same live on my Instagram. It was just crazy, man. I can't even explain it. But yeah, with 1 mile left or half a mile, we put Instagram on my phone. We went live so everybody could watch the finish, and then Ryan was holding that, and we made this jaunt in, man, to the section where you run past where you had started days before, and the trailer park where you go in, and you round the bend, man, and you hear them calling your name, and you see the finish line where you'd started. Yeah, for me it was 111 hours before, 111 hours, 24 minutes, and you come in, man, it's just an absolute surreal feeling. You've just went through the craziest experience, one of the crazy experiences you can go through, right? And I like to call this expedited living. It's to think of 111 hours of, let's say, training time as a athlete who does most of what he does full time. Let's say I have 20-hour training weeks. 80 hours is a month worth of training, right? So go to 100 hours. That's 5 weeks worth of training. That's 5.5, 6 weeks worth of training time, hours wise, that this race was. And you're condensing it into 5 days. So imagine all the experiences you get in 5 weeks of training, ups and downs and everything, and you're condensing that into 5 days, 111 hours straight. It's absolutely mind-boggling, man. You live a full lifetime in one of these races. You learn so much about what it takes to push yourself past your limits. What would happen if you just kept going? You want to quit so many times, and man, I wanted to quit so many fucking times that it's insane. But you just figure out what do I need to do? Just get the next aid station. You live aid station to aid station to aid station. Just break it up so you can metabolize it in your mind. Do whatever you have to do. And you just actually why not me, man? What would happen if I just kept putting my foot in front of the other? Kept moving forward. Why not me? Why can't I finish? Why can't it be me? And it can be you, man. And it's I'm not going to be Killian Korth, the guy who won it in 58 hours. I'm not Max Joliffe, the guy who won it last year. But I think it's a powerful thing to see that I'm a normal guy, man, and it's just a testament to show what can happen if you just put yourself out there. You put yourself in a position where you can fail, and I have failed before, and I've swallowed that pill, and I've came back and put myself out there again publicly to attempt this again, and you've gotten lots of whatever help online and things adornment that you've gone and tried it again, but you also got a lot of hate, man, saying oh, back at it again, loser, you're not going to make it this year again, all that stuff. Definitely still you think about, man, and it's to put yourself out there publicly and to go get it. It's just, I think, a testament to perseverance and resilience and just the human spirit, showing what can be done if you really have a goal and you put your mind to it, and you just don't quit. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you appreciate your gratitude and the things that you have gone right throughout, and you focus more on what the positives were, and you're solution oriented, not problem focused, and you just find a way to go get to the end, man. And then when you get there and you cross that line and your boys are there and they got Happy Dad for me, and we threw it and we shotgunned the Happy Dad at the end. And I always like to celebrate my wins, especially having the boys there. And it was such a nice thing to like have the crew there and to celebrate and to just have, feeling of closeness, man. So many of these ultras I've done in the past have just been me going out and doing it, and it's been very isolating. So I was very happy to have my crew there, and my buddy Damon, who was supposed to be part of the crew, ended up driving down just from Salt Lake City for like 4 hours drive just to come to the end. It was like amazing, man. So I was feeling very grateful. Right when you get done, they like take your spot tracker off. You have to take your finisher photo, so they compare the first photo to the last photo, the before photo to the after, and then you get to pick your belt buckle. So I got my belt buckle here. It's a lot of hard work for a little thing, man, but it's all the more meaningful. It's pretty awesome, and I can hold it up to the camera here at the end and show you, but it's pretty cool. They're all custom made. They're all different. All the Moab ones and Bigfoot and Tahoe and the Arizona Monster that they do as well. But yeah, all the Moab 240 ones are different. So I got to pick my buckle here, and then they offer you a pizza, but I couldn't eat it obviously. So I actually took one of those tortillas that they made at the final aid station, Porcupine Rim, for me. Had it at the end, and then it's basically, man, just like feeling grateful. Like it's almost shock. It's just, people have finished in a stagger, but you all started in the same spot, and now here you are 5 days later, and it's just time to get some rest at that point. We went to the hotel. It was like 4 a.m, kind of just bullshitted around, like laughing a bit. We walk into the room, and Joe and Kyle had gotten Ryan and I these shirts that say "Good Boy" on them, because we were just saying that a bunch the whole race. So we had those, and then you take all the stuff off your feet and like the blisters. My pinky toe is complete mush. Like I was pressing on it, and the whole thing would just squish in. It was pretty crazy. Like toes are definitely not supposed to do that. I was saying it's far too many steps for a young boy like me to take. So probably like over 100,000 steps a day. So around 400,000, 500,000 steps for that entire race. 242 miles, I think I ran. It was like 394 kilometers, 111 hours, 24 minutes, or something around there. 111 hours anyways. So yeah, man, it had been a goal of mine for a really long time, and being able to run with Goggins during it after hearing about it from him, it was just kind of like a full circle moment, man. I just felt it wasn't the time I was hoping for, but I felt really proud that I was able to get this done, man. And especially after a huge year of cycling Africa, like it would have been easy to chalk that up as such a big achievement and to call it for the rest of the year. But no, I had this goal, and I set it, and I went out and got it done. And my two major goals of 2025 athletically were cycling Africa, Cairo to Cape Town, and Moab 240. And I wrote that on a note on January 4th, and it's in my phone, and I can look back at it now and see that I was successful on that, and it makes me proud, man. It like I said, I'm probably not going to be one of those guys that wins these type of races, but I get these experiences, and the big thing for me is not just being a runner, not just being a swimmer, not just being a cyclist. I like variety. I want to be the most versatile ultra athlete there is. I want to be able to run these huge races. I want to be able to cycle across continents. I want to be able to swim for days straight in the ocean, in lakes. I want to be able to base jump off any structure, any object. Like I want to be competent in any of these scenarios, and whether it's hot, cold, desert, water, anything, air. I just want to be versatile, and that is what I'm going for, and that is the life experience I want, and yeah, man, that was what makes me proud. So after that, the boys kind of hit the sack, and Damon left, and I showered. I remember just like leaning in the shower, just like so tired, about to fall asleep in the shower, man. Showered off, and I have this thing called the smile when I achieve an ultra and you're laying in bed, man. It's like you've thought about that moment for so long, like being in bed, being comfortable, like being done and successful. And I've had ultras like my swims where I've failed and you're laying in bed and it's just the most heart-sinking, heartbreaking feeling, man. But I definitely had the smile on this one. I was laying in bed, just like so much pain, so much agony. Like your hips are killing, you got shooting pains, but you got the smile, man. And that meant a lot to me. So I got a few hours sleep that night, but we had to wake up in the morning, check out of the hotel because we had to get the boys back up to Salt Lake City for the next day. They were leaving, and I had to return the RV. So then Ryan, we got like some milkshakes the next day and some food. I had a couple milkshakes. They were unbelievable. And then I burnt around like 45,000 calories, so you're just trying to replenish all the calories and things. So, yeah, it was we had some food, and then Ryan ended up leaving. It was awesome to see him, but he had to make the 36-hour drive back to Pennsylvania, which is insane. So he drove almost as long as I was running. He drove like 70 hours or more to be here. So thank you, buddy Ryan, brother, good boy. And we drove back up to Salt Lake City, Kyle and Joe and I. And then, we stayed that night, and I returned the RV the next morning. And, yeah, drove the boys. We took an Uber to the airport, and I was supposed to be going. Joe and Kyle went back to Toronto, and thank you boys for coming out and making it happen this year. And we were saying Joe was the good luck charm because Kyle was here with me last year, and Kyle and I have been on a kind of a bad streak lately. I failed my Hawaii swim, then I failed Moab with Kyle, so Joe was a good luck charm to break this losing streak we had. So we're back in the win column, which is sick, and they headed back to Toronto, and I was supposed to go to West Virginia to do Bridge Day, the base jumping event, but I had another opportunity I can't really talk about, but I got to go to Yosemite National Park and climb up El Capitan, and I can't, yeah. Whatever happened there, and it was a tough hike to get up there like a day or two after Moab, but it was a beautiful, man. If you ever get a chance to go to Yosemite, definitely go. It's one of the most amazing places I've ever seen. Seeing those massive wall faces and getting to enjoy nature and firsthand in such a physical form during the government shutdown was amazing. So it was sick. I'll just say it was one of the best experiences of my life, what I did there. Anyways, yeah. So after that, flew back to Calgary, and here I am in Calgary doing this podcast. We're basically 1 week removed now. It's Thursday evening. I finished last Wednesday morning, so about a week out. I've done some runs, done some lifts, feeling pretty good, and I just appreciate everybody for watching all my stuff, following along, and if you've made it this far, listening to this, and I don't know what's next for me, but it'll definitely be something, and I'm going to try and do more kind of reflecting on these things and this year I've had, and it's been an amazing year, and I still got a bunch of podcasts coming out going over my whole Africa trip, so stay tuned for those, and stay tuned to my social medias, NP Adventure and everything for all that's to come, but this is just a start, man. I'm telling you, I've got a lot more in me, and I'm gaining more and more experience with each one I do. So I'm very excited for what's to come. And well, thank you all for watching. And this has been Comfort Breeds Complacency, episode 18, my Moab 240 2025 recap. So thank you all for watching, and keep her not so bad. Oh, and the last thing, let me show you guys something sick, which is my belt buckle. All right, look at this. Keep her not so bad, baby. Let's go.